Preparation is everything. Not the anxious kind, not the kind where you lie awake running scenarios through your mind, trying to anticipate every possible version of how something unfolds so that nothing can catch you off guard. The other kind, the quiet, grounded, deeply intentional kind, where you simply become ready, where you clear the internal space, where you decide before the moment arrives that when it does arrive, you are going to be fully present in it rather than scrambling to catch up. That is what this reading is asking of you today, Virgo, to prepare, because something is coming with a specific person in a specific way, carrying a specific weight, and the difference between receiving it well and receiving it poorly is going to come down entirely to whether you were ready when it knocked. I have been doing this long enough to know the difference between energy that is approaching and energy that has already arrived. And what I felt the moment I sat down with your cards today was not the slow, distant feeling of something developing on the horizon. It was the feeling of something that has already cleared the horizon and is now close enough that you should be able to feel it yourself if you get quiet enough to listen. The person this reading is about, the one your energy pointed me toward immediately before I had turned a single card, is in motion. Their life is reorganizing itself in ways that are bringing them closer to a moment with you that neither of you will forget. Before we go into what the cards are showing me, drop the word ready in the comments right now and subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, because being ready is the entire point. And I'm about to show you exactly what you need to be ready for. The first thing that struck me when I connected to this energy was the quality of the timing, because there is something specific about this moment, this particular window in both of your lives that makes what is about to happen between you feel less like coincidence and more like convergence. Like two things that have been moving toward each other along separate paths, finally reaching the point where the paths meet. And I want to describe that convergence from their side first, because understanding what has been happening in their life will tell you everything you need to know about why the timing is now rather than 6 months ago or 6 months from now. This person has been going through something, a period of significant internal reorganization, the kind that happens when life strips away certain illusions and leaves a person standing in the uncomfortable but clarifying space of what's actually true. Maybe it was a loss of some kind. Maybe it was the ending of something they had been holding on to past the point where it made sense to hold on. Maybe it was simply the accumulation of enough time and enough living to finally produce the perspective that only comes from having been through enough. Whatever the specific shape of it, what it produced in them was clarity. A particular hard one, no longer interested in pretending clarity about what they want their life to actually look like, about who they want in it, about what they have been tolerating that they no longer want to tolerate, and what they have been waiting for that they no longer want to wait for. You are in that clarity, Virgo. Your name, your face, the specific quality of what exists between you. It surfaced in that clarity with an insistence that they were not entirely prepared for. Not as a nostalgia, not as a comfort, not as the backward looking pull of someone retreating into the familiar, as something forward looking, as something that belongs in the life they are building toward rather than the one they are moving away from, as something that, when they imagined the future they actually wanted, was simply and undeniably present. That realization has been sitting in them for a while now, getting heavier, getting harder to act on indirectly through the small adjustments and the careful positioning and the gradual movement toward closeness that stops just short of being explicit about what it means. They are approaching the end of what indirect can accomplish. They are approaching the moment where the only way to move forward is to say the thing, do the thing, show up in the undeniable way that makes their intentions impossible to misread. That moment could be any day now. That is not a figure of speech. That is what these cards are showing me with a specificity that made me sit forward in my chair. Let me tell you what this moment is going to look like when it arrives, because I want you to recognize it clearly without the second guessing and the wondering if you're reading it correctly, that Virgo sometimes falls into when the thing actually happening is more significant than what you allowed yourself to expect. It is going to feel significant before you have fully processed why. There is going to be a quality to this interaction, however it arrives, whether in person or through some form of communication, whether in a context you anticipated or one that surprises you, that lands differently from the ordinary texture of your interactions with this person. A weight, a directness, a sense that something is being said that is more than what the words themselves contain, that underneath the surface of whatever the conversation looks like, there is a current of something much larger and much more important moving between you. Pay attention to that current. Do not talk yourself out of it. Do not do the Virgo thing of locating 12 alternative explanations for why things might mean less than they feel like they mean. Let the feeling be the information it is. What they are going to bring to this moment is a version of themselves you may not have seen before, or may have seen in glimpses in the unguarded moments, in the accidental honesty of a tired evening or an unexpected conversation, but never this sustained, never this deliberate, never this clearly offered as the real thing rather than a temporary dropping of the guard. They are going to show up without the protective layers that have kept certain things between you comfortable and undefined. They are going to be willing to be known in a way that requires them to risk something. That willingness to risk something is the most important signal. Watch for it. The slight exposure, the moment where they say something or do something that couldn't be walked back easily, that required actual courage to offer, that put something real on the table between you rather than keeping everything safely theoretical. When you see that moment, and you will see it, you will feel it before you can articulate it, that is the moment to meet them, not to manage them, not to be careful and measured and thoughtfully restrained, to actually meet them with something real from your own interior, with the specific kind of honesty that matches what they are bringing. Now, I want to talk about what you need to prepare internally, because the outer preparation, knowing this is coming, recognizing it when it arrives, is only half of what this reading is asking of you. The inner preparation is the harder half and the more important one. There is something that has been living in you around this person that has never been fully resolved. A feeling that you have carried with a certain quiet discipline, not suppressing it exactly, not pretending it isn't there, but managing it, keeping it in its lane, not letting it take up more space than you decided it was safe to give it, given the uncertainty of what this person felt and what they were going to do, and whether investing fully in this feeling was going to turn out to be something you'd regret. That managed feeling is about to have nowhere left to be managed into. Because when this person shows up, in the way I've been describing, when they bring what they're bringing and say what they're coming to say, the container you've been keeping your feelings in is going to become insufficient, too small. The lid is going to come off whether you decide to take it off or not. I want you to decide to take it off before the moment arrives in the privacy of your own heart. Make the decision that when this happens, you are not going to scramble to contain what you feel. You are not going to prioritize composure over authenticity. You are not going to protect yourself from the full experience of this moment by staying at a slight remove from it. The preparation I'm asking for is the preparation of deciding to be fully present, of deciding in advance that this moment deserves your complete, unguarded, genuinely felt response rather than the version of your response that has been filtered through Virgo's extraordinary capacity for self management. You have managed yourself around this person for long enough. What is coming is asking you to stop managing and start feeling fully, completely, without the exit strategy of partial investment. There is something about the specific nature of what is going to be expressed in this moment that I want to name because I think it will help you understand why it lands with the weight that it's going to land with. It is not going to be new information exactly. The feeling that is coming toward you from this person is not something that didn't exist before. It is something that existed maybe for a long time, maybe from earlier in this connection than either of you consciously acknowledged, but that was never given its full and proper expression. Never said in the way that it needed to be said to actually register. Never brought fully into the open where it could be dealt with honestly by both of you. What is coming is that thing finally being said properly, finally being given the full expression it has always deserved, finally being placed between you in a form clear enough and serious enough and complete enough that there is no room left for the careful ambiguity that has let both of you avoid fully reckoning with what this is. And hearing it said properly, hearing it in its complete form for the first time, is going to do something to you. Something you may not be entirely prepared for, even with everything I'm telling you today, because there are certain experiences that cannot be fully anticipated. They can only be lived. The specific feeling of something you have wanted and half known and never quite let yourself fully believe in being spoken out loud by the person you wanted to speak it, that feeling is its own thing. Distinct and specific and not quite like anything else. Let yourself have it, all of it. Don't compress it into something more manageable in the moment. Don't immediately redirect into what it means and what comes next and what you should do about it. Just let it land first. Just be in the moment of it being said and you receiving it, and both of you being in that together. The next steps will come, the practical navigation of what this means for your connection, for your lives, for everything that follows. All of that will come, and there will be time and space to think through it carefully in the way that Virgo does so well. But the moment itself, the actual living moment of this expression and this receiving that deserves to be fully inhabited before it becomes something to be figured out. Let me tell you what the cards are showing me about what follows this moment. Because the moment itself is significant, but it is not the destination. It is the opening, the beginning of a chapter that has been trying to begin for longer than you realize and has been waiting for exactly the conditions that are now present, both of you, in the particular state of readiness that you're each in to actually start. What follows is depth, a quality of connection between you that has not been available before, because depth requires honesty as its foundation, and the full honesty has not yet been on the table. Once it is on the table, once this moment of real expression and real receiving has happened, everything that comes after it has that honesty as its ground. And connection that stands on honest ground has a completely different quality from connection that is managed and careful and slightly suspended above the truth. What follows is relief, the specific, profound, almost physical relief of something that has been unresolved for too long, finally resolving, of a question that has been running quietly in the background of your experience of this person. What is this? What does it mean? Where does it go? Finally having its answer. The relief of knowing, even if knowing requires adjusting to something new, even if knowing changes things in ways that take time to integrate, the knowing itself is relief. What follows is the opportunity to build something real, not the floating, half-defined, carefully unspecified thing that has characterized whatever has existed between you up until now. Something with a name, something with intention behind it, something that both of you are consciously, deliberately, with full awareness of what you're doing, choosing to create together. That opportunity is rare, more rare than people acknowledge when they're in the middle of it, and it seems like simply the natural next step. It is not natural. It is the product of two people having gone through enough, separately and together, to finally be ready for something genuine, to finally be more interested in something real than in something comfortable, to finally be willing to risk the full exposure of being completely honest with another person about what they feel and what they want and what they hope for. Both of you are at that point now. At the same time, that simultaneity, both people ready at once, is the rarest thing of all. One more thing before we close, and it is the most practical thing I will say in this entire reading. When this moment arrives, whatever day it arrives, however it arrives, do not let it pass without responding to it fully. Do not let the familiar Virgo caution, the need to think things through completely before committing to a position, create a gap between what you receive and how you respond that leaves this person uncertain about where they stand. They are going to take a significant risk to bring this to you. They are going to make themselves genuinely vulnerable in a way that does not come easily to them. And what they are going to need in that moment, what the moment is going to call for from you, is not a thoughtful, measured, I'll need some time to process this kind of response. It is presence, real time, genuine, I am here with you in this moment presence. The kind that communicates clearly without requiring perfect words or perfect timing, that what they've brought has landed, that you received it, that they are not out there alone in what they just said. You can think it through later. You can be careful and thorough and completely Virgo about all the details of what this means and how it unfolds in the days and weeks that follow. But in the moment itself, give them your presence. Give them the real response. Give them the unguarded version of what you actually feel rather than the managed version of what you think you should feel or what it's safe to show. That is the preparation. That is the whole of it. Decide now, before it happens, to be real in that moment, and then watch what becomes possible when two people are finally, completely, genuinely real with each other at the same time. Tell me in the comments, do you feel it? The sense of something approaching, of energy shifting in a way that your body registers before your mind catches up. Drop ready if this reading landed somewhere specific. Tell me who came to mind. Tell me if you've already been feeling this person's energy differently lately, if something has already been changing in the atmosphere between you before today, because that change you've been feeling, that subtle shift in the air, is exactly what I'm seeing in these cards. It is not your imagination, it is them getting closer. Prepare well, Virgo. I'll see you in the next one.